Hi all, I'm Narayanan, part of DevOps practice at Virtusa Polaris. Today I'm going to walk you through a live demo to showcase continuous integration, continuous deployment, continuous testing and continuous infrastructure pipeline. Well, this is an extension to a video demo that we have already done, which talked about continuous integration, deployment and testing. In addition to that, we'll see continuous infrastructure as well on today's demo. For this demo, we'll take a simple Java-based application which is hosted on Tomcat application server. Let's see how the changes flows through different functional areas, starting from unit testing, static code analysis, functional and non-functional testing. Okay, before going into the live demo, let me walk you through the current setup. As you can see, the continuous integration setup has three pipelines. Dev pipeline is an Windows-based machine on AWS Cloud. QA pipeline is on Ubuntu server, which is also hosted on AWS Cloud. UAT pipeline will be an Ubuntu machine as well on AWS Cloud, but it is going to be created on the fly as part of the build cycle. Once the instance is created successfully, functional test is initiated, and once the functional testing for the application running on the newly created instance is completed successfully, the instance will be terminated automatically. Well, for the benefit of this demo, I've disabled the termination part of it, as I would like to show you the application running on the newly created instance. About the tools being used, as you can see, we have used widely used industrial standard tools like JIRA for change management, GitHub, which is the version control tool, Jenkins is a continuous integration tool hosted on cloud, Maven is the build tool being used, JUnit for unit testing, SonarQube for static code analysis, Selenium for functional testing, JMeter for the performance testing, Docker, which is the lightweight application container, Tomcat, which is the application server being used, AWS is the cloud infrastructure. As you all know, dev pipeline is considered to be highly unstable, as it involves a lot of changes from different developers and the chances for issues or failures are higher. Hence, you can see a lot of quality checks in place in dev environment, like unit testing, static code analysis, functional testing, etc. We call this as shift left quality approach. It enables us to identify and fix issues at the very early stage of our development life cycle. As you all know, fixing the issues at the early stage is very less expensive when compared to fixing it at the later stages like QA, UAT or production environment. So once all the quality checks are completed, what we get here is a .wav file, which is a ready to market deliverable, and this can be promoted into any test environments like QA, UAT or even production environment, and all these environment can have its own build pipeline. For this demo purpose, we'll have three build pipelines, as you can see here: dev pipeline, QA and UAT pipeline. So the changes basically starts from the leftmost corner. As you can see, as soon as a change is assigned to the development team, the developer basically starts working on the change. So the change is basically created on the change management tool. Change or a defect is created on the change management tool, which is JIRA here. So as soon as a change is created and assigned to a developer, the developer starts working on the change, and once it is completed successfully, it is then committed into centralized repository, which is Git or GitHub here. So Jenkins, which is a continuous integration tool, which will continuously poll this centralized GitHub repository. So as soon as it finds a change is committed into this Git repository, it will automatically trigger the Maven build. So once this Maven build is completed successfully, this unit test is initiated, and then the SonarQube is initiated for the static code analysis. So once these build and initial tests are completed successfully, A WAR file is created automatically and deployed into a local Tomcat application server, and once the application is up and running, a Selenium test suite is initiated. Once this functional test is completed, it initiates a performance test suite using JMeter. On the QA pipeline, the WAR file that is created as part of the dev pipeline is transferred into the Ubuntu server. On the Ubuntu server, a Docker image is created bundling the WAR file that is transferred along with the Tomcat application server. Once this Docker image is created successfully, it is then pushed into the Docker hub, and then this Docker image is run as a container to enable the web application on the Ubuntu server. Once the application is up and running, the functional test is initiated, followed by the performance testing. So in UAT pipeline, Jenkins job triggers the AWS Ubuntu instance creation. This instance creation requires an AWS image. So I have already created an image out of an Ubuntu server which had Dockers configured in it. So when I create an Ubuntu instance out of this image, I will get an new Ubuntu server with Dockers configured in it. Once the instance is created successfully, I will then pull the Docker image that I have already pushed as part of my QA pipeline, and then start the image as a container to enable the web application on the newly created Ubuntu instance. Once the application is up and running, I will then initiate the functional test as part of it. So that's the demo is all about. Let's quickly have a look into the live environment on how these integration and pipelines work. So I have now logged on to the Windows AWS instance where the dev pipeline resides. So let me just quickly brief you on the web application, the Java based web application that I was talking about. So this is the application. It's basically a servlet which has a home page with a welcome message on it. Also it has a servlet link which takes you to another page which shows you the number of counts, and it also has a link to the external page, which is the Polaris page. So this application is hosted on this local machine on a Tomcat application server, and the same application you can see that it is hosted on another machine as well. So this is the QA pipeline, QA environment that I was talking about. So this machine is an Ubuntu machine wherein the same application is also hosted on it, and post all these three pipeline completion, we will see another machine as well which does not exist at this point in time, which will be created as part of the Jenkins pipeline, and you can see the same application getting deployed in that instance as well. So for the purpose of this demo, let me make a change to this welcome title, which probably will append it with hyphen infra demo, probably for this demo purpose. And let's see how the change goes through different functional areas in the build pipeline and how it gets deployed into each environment as part of the build pipeline. Before I make changes into the application, let me just give you a quick view of the build pipeline that I have on my Jenkins pipeline view. So this is my build pipeline view. As you can see, three pipeline here. One is the dev pipeline, this one is the QA pipeline, and another one is the UAT pipeline. So dev pipeline is the one, as I told you, where all our quality checks are done, which has unit test in place, which has static code analysis in place, which has performance testing as well in this pipeline. So once that is all completed, the build gets deployed into the local server, and we'll be able to see the change on our local application here. So once that is done, it gets passed on to the next pipeline, which is the QA pipeline, where a Docker image is created, pushed into the Docker hub, and then deployed into the Ubuntu server. And you can see the change once it is deployed. You can see the change in just a minute. I'm sorry. Okay, so this page where you can see that change getting reflected. And the third pipeline, as I told you, is the infrastructure pipeline, wherein a new Ubuntu server is created as part of this pipeline, and a new server gets created, and we will be able to see that server and the application once it gets deployed into that newly created server. So that's all about this pipeline view. Probably once the build gets triggered, I'll show you all the build logs and different metrics collected as part of this pipeline. So let's go ahead and make the changes to the application and see how these changes gets deployed into different environments, and see how this new infrastructure gets created on the fly. Before I start making the changes, as I told you, let's create the JIRA request and assign it to the user. So I'll just make use of this once, and I'll assign it to a user. So you can see here this JIRA request is created for this particular change, and before I start making the changes, I'll say in progress, as I'm going to work on this change. I'll go into IDE. So now we are in the Eclipse IDE. As I told you, I'll just make the changes to this welcome title. As I told you, I'll give it as -infra demo, and save this changes. So I'll now commit it into my Git repository. Before committing it, I'll give the JIRA ID that I have created, -15. So this is the JIRA request that we have created for this change, which is -15. So I'll pass it on to the commit message. I'll commit it to the Git repository. So I've now gone into the pipeline view. Let's see how the changes kicks off here. So the build has started now. You can see the dev pipeline has begun. Go to the console view. So the Maven compilation has been completed successfully, and currently the Selenium build is currently going on. So the build is completed now. So let me just go to the local application. This is the application which is hosted on the local. So let's see how so you can see the changes reflected on the local host, so which is the dev pipeline, part of the dev pipeline. So now you can see the QA pipeline has started and has completed as well. So let me go to the QA pipelines URL. So you can see here the change has been reflected on the QA environment as well. So I'll go into each pipeline and go through the console and brief you, detail you about the metrics that is collected as part of each pipeline. So you can see the infrastructure pipeline has begun now, which is the UAT pipeline. Excuse. I can see the instance has been created successfully, and the instance is being initialized. This would take a few minutes, probably another 3 minutes. So in the meanwhile, I'll go through the dev pipeline and show you what are the metrics that has been collected as part of the build pipeline. Also, let's go through the console output as well. So this is the dev pipeline console output. So this is the console output. You can see the Maven build is completed successfully. You can see the static code analysis completed using SonarQube. So you can see the dashboard of SonarQube. You can see I'm not going to go in detail about the SonarQube. Probably I'll just give you a gist of it. So you can see all your technical debts, and you can see if there is any major issues as part of your code quality. So at the moment there are 4 unresolved issues I can see here, which needs to be fixed by the developers. And you can see the measures. So currently the reliability rating is A, security rating is A as well, and you can see the code coverage, duplications, code duplications, complexity, and all those stuff. So precisely you can see all your quality metrics here as part of your static code analysis. And you can see your performance trend here of your application, which is collected as per the JMeter execution. And you can see your Selenium result as well, how many test cases have passed, how many have failed, and all those things. So let me just quickly hop onto the pipeline view. I can see the build is still going on. It will take another 1.5 minutes based on the previous executions. So let me just go through the QA pipeline now. So let's open the QA console output here. So you can see here the war file is transferred into the Ubuntu server, and it creates the Docker image and then pushes it into the Docker hub, and then runs the Docker container. And you can see the Selenium execution as well completed here along with the JMeter, and it has triggered the infrastructure UAT pipeline. So now you can see here the UAT pipeline is completed as well, which is on the new. So you can see a newly created server and the application hosted on it now. So this is the newly created server, and you can see the IP address here. Let me just collect the IP address, and let's see how the application is deployed on this newly created server. So I'll just go to one of the URLs, replace it with a new IP address. So you can see here, so the application is hosted and it is working as expected. So all the functionalities are working fine, and you can see a Selenium suite as well executed as part of it. So you can see here the Selenium suite is executed, and you can see total number of test cases passed and failed and all this stuff. So if you remember, I initially mentioned that I've disabled the instance termination part, as I would like to show you the application once the new infrastructure comes up. So what I've done now is I've just separated the instance termination part, and I've just kept it as a separate job. You can see here. So what I will do is I'll just execute it and show you how the instance gets terminated. This is expected to be triggered manually, so I'll just trigger it and show you how this newly created instance gets terminated. So before I terminate this instance, let's go to the application once again. Once the instance is terminated, we can see this URL doesn't work, so I'm just going to terminate it now. So you can see here the instance is terminated successfully. I'll just go to the new application in new instance, and you can see, so you can see here the newly created instance doesn't work now as it is terminated. So I've come back to the JIRA request now. So as you can see, the status of the JIRA request has now changed from in progress to in review, and you can see the comment here as well. The continuous deployment executes successfully, application ready for testing. So as my change has gone through all these quality gates and have been deployed into various environments and have proved to be working, now I'm happy to close this change request, which ends the complete cycle for this particular change. So let's see a quick recap on what we have seen on today's demo. So we have seen how the change is initiated in JIRA and assigned to a developer, and the same change was worked and checked in into Git repository, followed by an automatic Jenkins build which triggered a Maven build, followed by unit testing and static code analysis, and that was deployed into that server, and we have seen the result of it, followed by the functional testing and performance testing on the dev pipeline. On the QA pipeline, we have seen that war file was passed on to the Ubuntu server, which was the QA mission, and a Docker image was created along with the Tomcat application server, and the Docker container was run, and the Docker image was pushed into the Docker hub, followed by a functional and a performance testing of the QA pipeline. On the UAT pipeline, a new Ubuntu server was created on the fly, and the Docker image that was pushed as part of the QA pipeline was pulled, and the container was executed, followed by the functional testing. And that's it with today's demo. Hope you liked the video. Do reach out to us for any queries related to DevOps. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you.